Okay, like I said, my next guest, my only guest today, is somebody who I've actually met for the first time, but I know her quite well through emails. And like I said, I don't prepare, so I'm going to actually read her bio. And I hope she doesn't get
Oh, that's
embarrassed, but
long.
it's long, but it's fun. Okay, Naela Durrani is a freelance reality casting producer and associate producer based in the Los Angeles area. This is also a way for you to hear my voiceover acting skills.
It's
They're
very
not
good.
good.
Very
They're
nice
not that good.
voiceover.
I sound more like Larry David than anybody, but that's all right.
Oh, I hear that. I can definitely
Yeah.
hear that. Yeah.
She has been working in the casting production industry for over 10 years after she moved to Los Angeles from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas at the young age of 24. Wait a minute, 24 plus 10? I'm not going to do the math.
I'm much older than that now.
That's all right. You look beautiful.
Thank
She
you.
started at Radio Disney AM 620 DFW. Not sure what that is. Is that like the shoe store, DFW? Or
Dallas Fort Worth.
DSW? Dallas Fort Worth, of course.
Yeah.
While in high school and worked there as in-person talent for 4.5 years hosting local events. There's more. After
Yeah.
moving to Los Angeles in 2007, she worked for Joe Pitka, a notable commercial director for commercials like Where's the Beef and
Yep.
movies like Space Jam Live action shots as a receptionist. Now you're sort of showing your age. Space Jam and Where's the Beef? That's all
Yeah.
right.
The director for that movie, he ended up being a very notable commercial director.
Wow.
I worked with him for 4 years as his receptionist and kind of like managed the office, and it was just a really good experience
Like a foot in the
and a way
door.
to be introduced to the industry.
Yeah, great. That's great. A lot of people start as interns, so you got to
Hmm.
really, that's a good deal. All right. After 4 years, it was time for her to move on. She worked at the Rainbow Bar and Grill in Hollywood for almost a year as a waitress. Maybe I should have left that part out.
Nah.
That's all right. Soon, she started working more in production and moved over to casting, working on her first show, Bam's Badasses on TBS.
Hmm.
I don't even know what that is.
It was a 2-season show, so
Oh,
no
okay.
big deal.
All right.
Not a big
She
deal.
worked on many shows like Undercover Boss and The Gong Show. Currently, she is casting for America's Got Talent seasons 12, 13, 14, 15, and now season 16 from home due to, I don't like to say the C word, COVID. She considers herself a Texan at heart, but was raised all the way from Georgia to California. She has technically lived in California longer than Texas now and doesn't know where she is from. She loves to say everywhere. I hear that. That's beautiful. She prides herself in having a unique background with being born in Saudi Arabia, living there until the age of 5, having a father from Pakistan and mother from a small town in Indiana. Wow. She loves coming from two different cultures and backgrounds. She really has been able to experience the best from both worlds. She recently had a son, Jack. Congratulations. Jack Brooklyn. That's his full
Yeah,
name, Jack Brooklyn. That's
that's his
cool.
first full name,
I'm
Jack
from Brooklyn,
Brooklyn.
so that's perfect. All right. In her spare time before COVID, she attended local comedy shows, weekly national comedy competitions, and national talent festivals of all kinds. She's a fire eater. I said that right.
Yeah.
And to escape from her computer screen, even though she has not done that since being pregnant, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Outside of work and networking, you can find Nyla at home cooking full traditional Pakistani cuisine and hanging out with her two elderly pups, Buddy and Honey, and now her new family. There you go. Thank you so much. That was pretty good.
It's a good like rounded like
It
who I
really
am, where I'm
is.
from, and what I'm doing.
It's beautiful. So here's my
Yeah.
first question I have to ask you. What I mean, I'm a comedian, and you've been nice enough to get me to audition twice. I sent you a tape. I auditioned. You gave me a front of the line pass. I got through like 2 rounds. The room with three people staring at you for 90 seconds, and then a bigger room with three people staring at me for 90 seconds with a camera, and that was it. So I blame myself. And plus there's probably a million comedians. But what is the things, probably more than one thing. What do you find that we do wrong that that you would say, this is what you gotta do, if you're allowed
Yeah.
to tell me?
Yeah. I mean, not just pertaining to AGT, just in
Right.
general,
In
when
general.
comedians send me tapes and I see tapes, the biggest issue I have with them is one, the audio is bad. I think that's the kicker all the time is like, I can't understand you.
Mm,
And you understand what you're saying because you know the joke and you know the words. So when you hear it back, you can pick up on what's being said. But I'm here. like
Your new
straining,
ears,
trying to
your
figure
new
out.
ears.
And if I'm straining, I can't sell you to anybody on any show I'm working on. And then I think the next thing is the video is too far away. I can't see your facial expressions.
Yeah.
And I think with comedy, facial expressions are so important. Um, if you take that pause and you're making a face during that pause, that works out so much better in everyone's favor if I can see your face.
Mhm.
um I think those are the two biggest things. So when people are recording their sets, which you should always be recording, I think that's like my biggest thing is everyone should always be recording. But when you're recording, just make sure like you get permission from the club, or the booker, and just say, hey, is it possible I can have a camera right here? I'm just going to set up my phone, whatever, so you can have a closer shot. um, and I think if you're a comedian or performer and you say something like, hey, I'm in touch with a producer at NBC and she wants to get a really good tape on me, just say that. Like,
Right.
clubs want to see you do good because they want to
Right.
that you were found at their club.
Exactly.
So I think if you're open and honest and personable and presentable, clubs will help you out to get that perfect tape to send to somebody like myself. So those are the two main things: video and audio. I think the next biggest thing is that, and this is something that mostly male comedians do, I will say,
Uh-oh.
but you guys don't dress up enough. I mean,
I
it's not that I
agree.
want you.
I've seen guys in flip-flops on stage, and I'm like, are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah. So I don't
Look
necessarily need a
presentable.
female to be all decked out in a dress and heels and makeup and hair all done. I find that actually to be a little puts me off if you're too dressed up.
Mm.
If a male is wearing the blazer and a nice shirt and pants, again, like that's a little like Jerry Seinfeld time, 90s. I think everybody should wear something that suits their look, that
Right.
suits, what they would wear. I don't want you to try to be somebody else. At the same time, this is a tape that is going to be presented that you are hopefully taping every single time you're taping. um, that this tape could be something that you use in the future. And if you don't look good, or if you have a hat on and it's covering your face and shadowing your eyes and I can't see it, but maybe you have a hat on and the light is perfect and you can see fine, great. But again, like you should always be wearing something or dressed to when you're recording to look good, look presentable. If I were to go on a first date with somebody, I'm not going to wear this.
Right. That makes
I'm
sense.
also not going to be all dolled up. I'm not going to be like 90210 housewife kind of thing, but I'll have a nice shirt on. I'll have my makeup done. I'll have my hair done. I'll look presentable. And I think that is my biggest pet peeve is a lot of comedians, not necessarily other talents, but comedians don't dress up enough because they think, oh, I'm just going to get on the stage for 5 minutes and then that'll be
Mhm.
it. But I'm in the crowd now and I see you and I'm like, wow, that was such a good set. Did you record that? And they say no, or they say, wow, that's a real set. Can I get another recording? Because you don't look as presentable. Um, Maybe that next tape is not as good.
Right.
That audience is not as good. So always be presentable, always be recording, and make sure you have good audio.
Those are excellent. I mean, and it sounds so simple, but I'm sure that it's not followed, And as a
I
comedian, it's very hard to get that perfect combination. I understand looking presentable. I wear a bow tie and a shirt. That's my shtick. I'm
mhm.
the funniest accountant, so it works. But sometimes audience levels are hard, and the lighting and the sound and the tape. It's hard. But you're right. You have to always be recording and always trying and always doing it. And yeah, I agree. That's great advice. Now, do you also work with musical acts? Are you primarily doing comedians or?
I mean, while I'm casting for America's Got Talent, I cast for everything.
Okay.
So music, singer songwriters, comedians, variety acts, circus acts, choirs. I mean, you name it. If they got a talent, I'm into them. So, it's sometimes it's hard for me to have the ability to break down someone's comedy because I am also working on many other things. When people are
Right.
like, hey, here's a 5 minute of me, I'll write them back like, hey, I need a 2 minutes. It's not because I'm trying to be rude. It's just like, this is what I need. So you need to do your work on your end and get me what I need.
Right.
I don't have the luxury to just sit back and watch comedy all day. Some people think all I do is just sit and talk or sit and watch YouTubes, but YouTube is a part of my job because I have to take YouTube videos that you guys are sending me. And I have to also edit, so I also edit on top of my stuff. I have meetings, I do stuff like this. So, it's a lot of work.
I agree. I believe you. And we want to make it easy for you. That's the whole thing.
Exactly.
If we can make it easy for you, then we have a chance of moving to the next. It's really our benefit to
It
do
is.
it the
It's in
right
your
way.
benefit. That's why I tell
Yeah.
people it's like, do your work on your end so I can do my work on my end.
Right. Right. How long does it take for you to disqualify somebody? I mean, when you look at the tape with like 30 seconds, you're like, no. Does that happen?
I mean, I remember with the Gong Show, it was a lot harder because like I
Yeah.
would look at things and just be like, what the hell is this? And then I would show it to somebody and they'd be like, oh my God, it's so funny. And really? Okay. And it's just some guy spitting bananas in his wife's mouth. It
Yeah.
happened. Um, so, and then, I see people and, I saw Preacher Lawson
Oh yeah.
actually. I I saw his tape and I just didn't think it was funny.
Hmm.
Um, it was my bad. I just was like, oh, he's okay, but I didn't feel like he really stood out other than his energy
Hmm.
on stage. And so I passed him by. And then another casting producer that I know was told about him, and she's the one who worked with him, and she got him on the show. So I think I've learned from that situation that just because I might not find something as funny, or I might not think something is as good, like to always give it benefit of the doubt, and maybe even get a second opinion. So I'll always, if I don't think something's good enough, or if I'm on the fence with something, I always send it to my casting friends and say, hey, what do you think about this or whatnot?
That's good. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Now let me ask you this, and if you can answer it, um, how much of the what America's I watch AGT all the time, and a lot of it is backstory.
Mm.
What's the emphasis on the backstory versus the actual talent? Is it like, well, you're funny, but your backstory is not good enough, or your backstory is incredible, but you're not funny enough?
Yeah.
Is there a balance of that, or can you
Well, I
say,
don't
or is
produce
that
the show myself. Yeah, so I don't produce the show myself. So that would be something
well,
you'd
that's
want
another
to talk
level?
to a producer about. I
Oh,
just
okay.
cast the show. But in all honesty, for any show I've worked on, it's like Undercover Boss. There was a episode that I was working on with the with it was like a celebrity edition, and so we were trying to find a girl who knew who Ashley Graham was, and Ashley Graham is a plus size model, and
Yes,
so
I
we
know
were
she
looking.
is.
I didn't know who she was when I worked
Yeah,
on the
I
show. I was
know.
like, who's
Mhm.
Ashley Graham? I don't know who this person is. Um, so we had to find a plus size model or a wannabe model to be on the show with her. And if I just found, and trust me, there were hundreds of plus size models that I talked to. But when you find somebody and they open themselves up to you and they're open about their story and it's moving and it's relatable and it touches your heart, as a producer for any show, when you feel that relatability and that comfortable with that person, and they're also good at what they do, um, you definitely want to try to get them on the show. So for any show, I don't think necessarily it comes down to your backstory. It always comes down to talent and if you're right for that part. But I think having a backstory definitely makes you more relatable to any audience.
Right.
Like everyone says, oh, I don't have cancer or whatnot. Well, let's bring up Preacher Lawson again. Didn't have a backstory. His whole backstory was he was a struggling comedian. He
Right.
was living in a car. He was sleeping on someone's couch. He was a vegan. Okay, that's his like backstory. You
Mhm.
know, he didn't have anything like super backstory. Like he was really
Right, right,
close with his
right.
mom and his brother. But that was it. So I think everybody has a backstory. I can say I'm really not that interesting.
Right.
I could say that, but if you
Mhm.
dig, 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 you'll see. Oh, her dad's from Pakistan. Oh, she was born in Saudi Arabia. So Nyla, tell me a little bit about like how do you feel it was being raised as a first generation member of your family on your dad's side, but 12th generation on your mom's, did you ever like have this like split culture in your house? Like, you start diving into this person's story, you
Right,
start
right.
finding out like, oh, this is why she is this way, is because she was raised in two different cultures. Oh, she has a Christian family and a Muslim family, and like, how do they come together? And
Mhm.
so you just start asking questions to people, and people start opening up, and eventually you find a story.
Right, right. And really the whole purpose of that is to get people to tune in, right? Let's face it, it's television. They want to see Preacher again, or they want to
Yeah.
see somebody, oh, I
But
like
again,
that
Preacher
guy.
didn't have a story.
Right.
Preacher
I
didn't
like
have
that
that story.
story. I want to see them again. Or the one little girl
Yeah.
who the whole family was blind. It was just like, that
Yeah.
was a story, and she had a
I
wonderful
think I think
voice. And
people just like to relate when it
of
comes
course.
to AGT. I think people just like to relate to the talents. Like, I can see myself in her, or
Right.
oh my God, that could be my daughter, you
Right.
know, um, or I know somebody who's gone through that. So I think it really just comes down to the format of the shows,
Right.
and what they're needing. And for a show like AGT, we definitely love our audience to relate to our talent.
If you can get them to cry and laugh at the same act, it's a winner, right?
It's really funny because I did this interview with this one woman once. It wasn't for AGT. It was, I don't even remember the show I was on, but I sat there and I talked to her and asking all these questions. And then she started like, doing that. And I just sat there and stared at her
Mhm.
until she started crying. And she started crying and I just let her cry. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the most horrible human being in this world. I'm letting that woman cry. And then I said, but now you feel really good. And she was like, yeah, now I can do anything.
Yeah.
And I got
There,
that. You know
there
what
it
I mean?
is. There it
So
is.
sometimes a good tear isn't a bad thing.
It's those moments. It's those
Yeah.
moments. See, my thing is, I always thought my backstory, and it's true, is this has kind of become a second career for me because I was an accountant my whole life,
Hmm.
and then I decided to do comedy at the age of 40. So it's that whole, I don't want to say midlife crisis, midlife awakening, I like to call it, where and I think that gives hope to others that are maybe thinking, oh,
Hmm.
I'm too old to do this. And that's kind of a nice storyline. But, I screwed up for other reasons, but that's all right. I beat myself up more than anything else. But I will try again. Now, what else? Do you also do? I can see your voice. Is that you also, or did you have something to do with that? Oh,
So I
oops.
actually did the pilot. So I was
Okay.
working on a different show, and the casting director came in and he's like, "Hey, you know a lot of like comedians and singers. Do you want to try to help cast this pilot and get it sold to Fox?" I was like, "Yeah, sure," because the
Of
show I was
course.
working on was about hair, and I hated it. I hated working on that show. So I was like, "Get my attention on something else."
Yeah.
Yes. And so I ended up casting the pilot, and did the whole like everything for the pilot, everything with all the talents. I got them interviewed, I got them approved, everything. And then we filmed the pilot. And I think the day of filming the pilot, I had to jump back onto AGT. And so I
Oh.
missed the whole filming of the pilot, but I like did everything. And then when season one happened, and they got picked up, they were like, hey, do you want to come work for us? And I was like, well, AGT just gave me associate producer position, so I
Right.
think I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah. Of course.
So I stayed there, and I helped recruit. So I was just like, look, I'll throw you names if I know people. I'll just put the word out there. So I just helped recruit, got them some really really fun comedians like Eric Esteban was on the show
Oh, okay.
as the karaoke singer. He was a bad singer. And then another Eric, um, can't remember. Oh, Escobar. They both were Eric S. Es, Esteban and Escobar. So Eric Escobar was on the very last episode. I think I cast a singing Asian country singer, and he's good. He's really good. So I got him on the show. So I got a lot of people on season one. I think about 6 people on season one.
That's pretty
And
good.
so right now they're casting season 2, and I'm just again helping out. I'm not really like a casting producer for the show because I'm working on AGT. But if I find people that are really great, I definitely send them over. And since I worked with that casting director and since I did the pilot, they're definitely grabbing every name that I send them.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now the AGT are the auditions over now? Are they getting ready to start
I
the
think the
real?
very last virtual audition is February 8th.
Oh, okay. All right. And then
Yeah, but so I'm still casting for
oh,
AGT, and the virtual auditions are still happening.
oh, great. Is it okay if I can give people your email and my little
Oh yeah,
broadcast there?
definitely give people my
Great.
email. I'm always
Okay.
looking for a 2-minute submission tape,
Great.
something that's right for our format. I always tell people like study the format. Understand this is an 8 p.m. family friendly show.
Of course.
Is this a family friendly podcast?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I'll keep my vulgarity down. No vulgarity,
Of course. You
that's
got to
one
remember
I
you're
tell
on
people.
television. You can't be talking about things that you talk about in clubs. I know. Well,
Yes,
some of it's so obvious, just
some of
like
it's
think
so
about it.
obvious, but you wouldn't. I can't tell you how many times I've sent back an email like, "Hey, we can't talk about these sexual acts on our show. Do you have another tape though? Because I love your presence and I love your energy and I'd love to see something else possibly." And sometimes I actually get back emails like one time, once in a while, I'll get like, "Oh, I didn't know this was for AGT." That to me tells me that you're just signing up for everything.
You're not paying
Um,
attention, right?
and you're not paying attention. So I'm like, I'll still work with them, but it just kind of put like a little sour taste in my mouth. The
Well,
second
yeah.
thing I'll get is oh my god, I wasn't thinking. Like people literally realize what they sent and they're like, "Ooh." And then the next thing I get is like, well, I don't have clean material.
Right, right,
And
right.
I tell people, especially
Mm,
now during COVID, like
yeah.
you guys should be working on TV clean material. That doesn't need to be pop and bubblegum friendly,
Right, right.
but even late night, like you have to be a little clean. I just saw, oh God, what was her name? I love her. I think she's great. I'm so bad with names nowadays after having a kid. Anyways, I saw this really amazing comedian at Big Sky Comedy Festival. Vulgar. Oh, talks about sexual acts. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, but she was recently on the Tonight Show during the pandemic. It was pre-recorded, and I guess she was on the Tonight Show. And same material that I saw at Big Sky, but clean. You
Wow.
can do it. You can do it. Anyway,
Well, I always tell comedians the best thing to do is you have to write clean and make it dirty. It's very hard to write dirty and make it clean. You have to go the other way around. So
I
I
agree.
always write clean. Um, that's very cool. I think it's great that you actually get back to people because I know in this business that I've been in, the hardest thing for us is being ignored. It's like,
Yeah.
I would rather somebody tell me what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, I would love the criticism than say I send a tape or send a video and you hear nothing. Then it's like,
Yeah.
what happened? But I realize, people are busy and they can't get back to everybody. But what I really love about you is you actually get back to people, which is such a, believe me, we appreciate that.
I know. I think
And if
that's
we
the biggest
try again and we fail
compliment I
again,
get.
it's on us.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest compliment I get from comedians
Yeah.
is, oh, I wasn't expecting you to get back to me so fast. Thank you so much. I mean, I had a comedian, Abby Robert. He's here in LA. I think he moved back to Chicago or Canada. I can't remember. But him and another comedian, who the other comedian is the one that said the nice things. But anyways, so the other comedian emailed me out of the blue. Wasn't even talking to him. He wasn't auditioning for any show. This just happened like maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And he was just like, yeah, me and Abby were just talking the other day and your name came up. And I'm like, my name?
Mm,
Why did I come up? Because I don't communicate with these people very often. I think the last time I tried to cast them were years ago, you know.
right.
Um, and he was just like, yeah, we just started talking about you, and Abby said really great things about you, and I said really great things about you, and we just really appreciate that you really do care. We can tell that you care about the comedians, and and that was all the email was, just a thank you, and it just
It's
warmed
huge.
my heart.
Nyla, you
And
have
I
no
think
idea
that's
how
some
big that is. That's
I
huge.
know, and I think that's something that's really big in my industry, casting all around, script casting. Like, it's really hard for me to email 500 people back
Yeah.
after they audition, right?
Right.
For like a script thing, like a commercial. It's really hard for me to do that. But you can send a BCC email out and say, hey, thanks so much for auditioning today. You did a great job. I just want to let you know we did go ahead and cast the role, but I thought you were great and I'd love to stay in touch with you. Boom, done. Easy, easy.
Huge,
It's just
huge.
something like that is so, I think in this industry, and maybe it's going to come back after this pandemic, I think manners. I think some people in my industry, not talking about my coworkers in particular at all, I'm just talking about general. Um, I think some people have lost their manners. And it's just, and maybe it's the Texas girl in me too, but maybe it's also I don't like rejection, so I feel your pain, so I want to make sure, you know.
Well, like I
Um,
said, rejection is fine. We can handle rejection. We can't handle being ignored. It
yeah,
feels
I can't
horrible
either.
because it just
So
feels like if I only knew what I did. But you're right. That simple thought of just sending a hey, we got your tape, and we chose somebody else. It
yeah,
even that feels good enough.
it's like, okay,
It's
at least I know they got it. I
right,
was
right.
seen. They
Yes,
didn't choose me, but I was seen. Maybe I
exactly.
didn't see you. Maybe I
And it's
didn't get
so
to all
nice to have that
500.
connection with somebody that does what you do because we don't
Yeah,
get to meet people like you, on a
yeah,
regular basis. So keep doing that. That is
no,
huge, and we love it and we appreciate it. And I'm glad you're getting some thank yous for that because you deserve it. So
oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
that's a great thing. Now let me ask you this: if you're saying that the last of the virtual auditions are February 8th, but if someone was to send you a tape like in March or April, do they have to send you something while the casting is going on, or could it just be anytime?
I mean, I'm usually casting for America's Got Talent. This is my fifth season, and I usually start casting in August and I go through February. But if I just tell people not to reach out to me March through July, I'm missing out on things, and then I'm not ready in August.
Right,
So if you send me something in March through July, I'll usually keep it on file, and then once the next season starts, or maybe even a project like I Could See Your Voice, um, I'll go through that database and just kind of like pick out people, and say, hey, this is what I'm auditioning for. Or just if I know what you're wanting to audition for, I'll just send your tape over once that show starts.
right.
So
The
yeah,
reason
send me
why
stuff all the time.
that's
All the time.
great because the reason why I asked that is like you said before, keep taping, keep recording. If we get like a monster, like we get something that's like a perfect 5 minutes and everything is right, and we go, oh, I want to send this, but it's April. Do I have to wait till August? And but you're saying you can, and that's really good
Yeah, and I
information.
think you should be reaching out to not just me, but bookers and things like that.
Right,
And you should preface your emails always like, hey, I know this is over 5 minutes or over 2 minutes. I don't necessarily know what you're looking for at this time, but I wanted to send you this tape that I recorded. Is an amazing tape, and I just want to make
right,
sure that you see it. If you say something like that, I know bookers, and like bookers will say like, I will only look at my emails of like talents when I need to fill a spot. They're
right.
not sitting there all day looking
Looking
through
for work.
emails and checking
Right.
emails. They have 500 emails. They can just pick a comedian here and pick a comedian there. Like
Mhm.
I've been to like lectures and stuff and heard them talk, so I know that this is true. But I think if you write correctly, it really does change how someone views it and sees it. I rarely get really nice professional emails. And when someone sends me a nice professional email, I write back immediately and I go, hey, just want to let you know that email was so professional. Good job. Like, because comedians, especially, I don't think they understand the business part and sometimes it
Right.
lacks. And so I'll just get like,
Mm.
hey, I'm interested. Interested in what? What are you interested in? I have friends that are casting that I share their casting calls. I share my own casting. Which one did you see? I don't know. So write a professional email. Hi, Miss So and so. I saw that you're a casting producer for this show. I don't know what you're looking for. Or hi, booker for such and such club. I'm a comedian and I don't know what you're looking for. Here is a really good tape that I recently got that's 5 minutes. Please watch it in your own free time. I would love to be on your show, or I'd love to be at your club. Thank you so much. And don't demand anything. And then in 30 days, follow up. Hello, Mr. And just have the same type of repertoire. Hit reply to the same email in a thread, because then all your conversations are in one. I don't have to go back
Ah,
and search, where's this email that he's talking about? It's right
ah,
there, it's attached.
that's huge.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm. Again,
Now,
simple.
It's common sense. So you're right. It's like 90% of it is common sense. And you're
Yeah.
right.
But I think
Now,
we're rushed. I mean, I even do it. I'm like, oh, I got to get Stevie this
yeah,
email real quick. And I'll just send you
yeah,
an email instead of keeping everything in the thread. So, I mean,
right.
I need to follow my own advice half the time too. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We get. It's laziness. That's really what
yeah.
it is, and we're all
Yeah.
guilty of that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. It's human nature, I guess. We don't take it seriously enough, and we should. If we want to get there, you got to take it serious. Be professional. Show business. Business.
Yeah.
The
It is
show
a
in this
business.
business is the business side, and it's
If you don't
half.
want to do the business, get out of the show
Get
because we
out of
got
the show.
business to do.
Exactly, 100% right. Now you mentioned Big Sky Festival. Do you follow? I know that's in Montana. Do you do any other festivals where you go to and pick up talent? And
Yeah, from April 2019 through end of February 2020. Is it end of February or January? January. So January, February, whatever it was. 2019 to 2020, I ended up going to 13 comedy festivals.
wow.
Um, so that was my goal for the year. And then I got pregnant. And I was like, oh, great time to have goals. um, but yeah, so the first one I went to was North Carolina Comedy Festival in Greensboro, North Carolina. It was great. Loved it. Highly suggest people going to it. I have more industry people going to it. It was supposed to happen again this year, but they moved it to next year. So those industry people will go next year. Big Sky, North Carolina, Big Pine Comedy Festival. That's my favorite one. Sorry, Big Sky.
Where is that one? Is it California?
No, so Big Pine Comedy Festival is in Flagstaff.
Oh, Arizona.
There's
Okay.
no plane or no airline, no airport in Flagstaff.
Mm,
So you have to take a 2-hour drive from Phoenix into
mm,
Flagstaff, or you can just drive the whole way here from LA.
right.
So I remember I was going and I was like, hey guys, I just want to let you know, like, I'm happy to come, but there's no airline. And they're like, oh no, we'll pick you up. And I'm like, and drive for 2 hours? And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay. So that one was fun. But yeah, Flagstaff, Big Pine is my favorite one. I think Big Pine's my favorite one because it's very family feeling. They really make the industry and the talents like mesh. What's it called? We stay in the same hotels. They have. I mean, I literally went up to the organizer and I was like, "You need to plan a siesta every day because I'm exhausted." We had axe throwing, then followed up by drinks and basketball game, immediately followed by a show. And I'm just like, I'm exhausted. I also was
Yeah.
pregnant and didn't know I was pregnant at the time. So that also might be why I was so tired. But they keep you busy.
Mm.
And then the last one I physically went to was Snow Jam Comedy Festival, which was actually this weekend virtually. And it was in South Dakota.
Wow.
So
So
I mean, I've gone
most of your
places.
festivals are out west. Do you ever coming down to the East Coast at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've gone to festivals in New York. I've been to competitions in New York. I haven't been brought to any physically because a lot of the competitions or festivals will fly me out, put me up in a hotel, and have me participate as a judge. I won't be paid or anything, but I'll go. And the East Coast hasn't done that yet. I think the farthest that a festival's brought me was Lexington, Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
I love
listen,
it there.
I hate to end our interview. This is so informative, but I think my wife's home and she makes me
Oh
stuff.
no.
And
I
she's
was
like the
thinking this was going
disruptor.
to end when the baby started crying, but
No, no,
she
my
beat
wife is
me.
going to be crying any minute, so she beats me to it. But listen, Nyla, thank you so much. This was amazing information, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time. And once I get that incredible tape, you're going to hear from me in a professional email. That's for sure, because
Okay.
I haven't
And
given up yet.
can you do my taxes?
Ah,
I'm kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
know. Thank God you're kidding, because I'm not good at that. I'm funny at doing taxes. It's
You're funny. I'm not good at taxes either.
uh,
I hate them. I hate them.
but listen,
Anyways,
we'll be in
well,
touch. Thank you
okay.
so much. Congratulations on the baby, Jack Brooklyn.
Oh,
I love the
thank
name.
you. Thank
and
you.
enjoy yourself. Have
Okay.
fun. And we will be speaking soon. And I think this is very informative, and my fans are going to love it. And I appreciate if you want to share it on your Facebook or whatever.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
for sure. Send it over.
Oh, I definitely will. Thank you so much. It's really lovely to talk to you.
You too. Bye.
All right. Take care.